Wake up. It's the Sleep Unplugged podcast, episode 180, Top 10 Sleep Threat Power Rankings. Sleeping eyes, you're missing. Welcome, everyone, to the Sleep Unplugged podcast. My name is Chris Winter. I'm a neurologist, sleep specialist, and your host for this episode of the podcast. If you're new to the Sleep Unplugged podcast family, welcome. If you're a veteran, welcome back. We are glad you're here. Big week. Happy holidays to everyone. I hope everyone had a safe and fun Thanksgiving weekend filled with lots of family and friends and good food and football. Congratulations to Navy for their big win over Memphis and for UVA for securing the best record in the ACC and a trip to the ACC final and a huge victory over Virginia Tech. That's always a lot of fun. If you want to get in touch with the show, tell us what you did over Thanksgiving, what you bought over Thanksgiving. Once again, the fourth annual Black Friday event was huge. I got a bunch of people saying, hey, great ideas. Katie wrote and said, I love the Authenticity 50 Northwest Wool Throw. It's Oregon wool woven in Washington, D.C. She used her Authenticity gift discount to buy that. I actually have a different throw, so I was not aware of that. Looked it up. It's beautiful. I have to put that on my list as well too. So thank you, Katie, for getting in touch with the show. This week we have, if you want to get in touch with the show, you can. Social media, Dr. Chris Winter, Instagram, Dr. Chris Winter, Twitter, Twitter, Bluesky, Threads, YouTube page we have dedicated to all the videos. If you watch last week's episode on Black Friday, you can see all the different products, including our sponsor. We are very excited that Lofty, one of the products that we featured in our episode, reached out to us and said, we love the idea of doing the top 10 threats to your sleep. We want to sponsor that episode every month. So if you're a listener to the podcast, you know, first episode of every month, always an episode about insomnia. Last episode of the month is always an episode about the top 10 threats to your sleep. And this week is special because not only do we have Lofty sponsoring the episode, but because it was such a heavy lift, we are making this the entirety of the episode. The entire episode will be about the top 10 threats to your sleep. And we will pull out a little bit of information about the top 10 threats to your sleep, as you will see when we get going on. So we're really excited to have Lofty. It's a beautifully designed, scientifically sensible alarm clock that does exactly what your phone should do, but your phone refuses to do it. It never will. Here's the problem. One of the biggest sleep threats we'll discuss today is technology. And if you listen to the podcast and you were aware of previous top 10 threats to your sleep power rankings, you will know that a lot of the problems that our experts that we talk to cite, like technology in the bedroom, which was number 8 2 weeks ago, light exposure when you're trying to sleep, which was number 5 on Kathy Goldstein's list, doom scrolling was number 5 last week, notifications, texts, news alerts, i.e. fear of missing out. Pay attention to that theme. We're coming back to it. That was number 3 last week. None of this is conducive to sleep. And I think for every one of our top 10 threats, lists that we've done every week, we've always had experts talking about something like that. People cling to their phones, but what they really need is a good alarm clock in their bedroom. So enter in Lofty. Lofty is a 2-stage alarm clock that wakes you gently, not with heart-stopping cacophonies your phones use you to punish you for merely existing and sleeping in your bed, but really with carefully designed tones that ramp up gradually. It's an alarm clock built around sleep physiology, not anxiety and fear. And because Lofty is not a smartphone, it lets you reclaim your bedroom as a true sleep environment. No blue light, no emails to check at midnight, no one more video vortex, just a clean, simple device whose entire purpose is to help you sleep better and wake better. But it's also smart in ways that matter. Lofty includes curated bedtime soundscapes, breathwork exercises, meditations, white noise, but delivered to you on your terms, not from an app trying to sell you 37 unrelated subscriptions. Think of it as a bedside bedside sleep assistant that doesn't track you, judge you, or nag you. It simply helps. And here's the clincher. If one of the top sleep threats is overstimulated nights and chaotic mornings, Lofty is an antidote to both. You get a calmer wind down, healthier bedroom environment, and a more consistent morning routine, all without relying on the device that causes half the problems we spend our professional lives trying to untangle. So if you're ready to evict the smartphone from your nightstand, Lofty is the elegant, musical, science-aligned way to do it. Visit buylofty.com. Use the promotion code we introduced last week during the Black Friday episode, Sleep Unplugged 15. It's good until January 1st to let them know we sent you. Your future well-rested self will appreciate it. Our musical reference in this week's podcast, Sleeping Eyes, You're Missing, is actually from Jack Johnson, who happens to be the I asked our sleep expert who was ranking our top 10 threats to your sleep this week, you're stranded on a desert island. Whose music are you taking with you? You can only pick one artist. She said, I think I would take Jack Johnson, which makes sense if you're on a desert island looking out, or you're looking out, or a tropical island looking out on the surf. I think Jack Johnson would be perfect. So Jack Johnson's debut album, 2001, Brushfire Fairy Tales, two songs off of that album are combined for this week's title. Two of my favorites on the album. That's a great album. There's not a bad song on that album, but Flake no longer sees it with her sleeping eyes is where the first reference comes from. And You're Missing is from the song Bubble Toes. I love that album. This was a really interesting album. You know, Jack Johnson was a film major, I think at UCLA, and was a surfer out in California, knew a lot of professional surfers. His senior thesis was a film, I believe, called Thicker Than Water that he made and produced 2001, had, you know, surfer Kelly Slater in it. And it was really quite popular in the surf scene. He had a soundtrack to it, but there were interludes in the movie that he was producing that he just kind of filled in with his own music. And people liked his own music so much that he recorded an album that kind of went nowhere until Ben Harper, I'm a big Dave Matthews fan, everybody knows Ben Harper, kind of came along and rescued the album and made it really commercially successful. Second album, On and On, 2003, was really popular as well too. So really great artist. I saw Jack Johnson in Charlottesville one time. My wife and I were supposed to go, and my wife was sick, I think with like, I thought she might have whooping cough at the time. I mean, we were both really sick, but I got better a little bit faster. So I went to the concert and ran into him, kind of waiting in line to go to the bathroom. And I was like, hey, my wife really wanted to come hear you perform. If I call her, will you say, hey, get well soon? And he's like, sure. So I called her up, but she didn't answer. So never got the message from Jack Johnson. Great individual. So let's get into it. Top 10 threats to your sleep power rankings. So we've done this now. I think this is our 7th list. And like I said, this is our first list to actually feature, that we will actually feature for the entire length of the podcast, which I think makes so much more sense. And because Lofty is now sponsoring the top 10 threats to your sleep power rankings, when you look on social media, if you go to my Instagram page, I will post the top 10 threats. We have made a little alteration to the Sleep Unplugged logo that you see here that was created by our producer, Maeve Winter. And we've actually changed this sort of generic alarm clock into a Lofty clock that we will use that logo for the week of the power rankings in the indefinite future. Again, very thankful to Lofty for sponsoring this podcast episode. So before we get into it, let's talk about our guest assessor, our guest ranker. She is a friend, powerhouse of sleep knowledge, and just a really nice person. And that is Jade Wu. Jade initially got interested in sleep growing up, being around her father, who worked with China's first space crew to explore how sleep changes in orbit. And these early experiences really got Dr. Wu quite interested in sleep. But I think if I remember correctly, it was hearing Dr. Moss, James Moss, who coined the phrase power sleep, and I think actually wrote a really, really nice review of my book, The Sleep Unplugged. If I'm remembering that correctly, I'm going to look real quick while I'm sitting here. Um, anyway, there was some like somebody. Oh, it might be right here. I could be remembering that wrong. I think that um anyway, he wrote me a letter, and I think that's what I'm remembering. Just a very kind letter about how much he enjoyed my first book. But Dr. Moss was the best, and I can understand why somebody like him would get somebody like Dr. Wu excited about sleep. So she got interested in the brain, got interested in neuroscience, went to Boston University, got her PhD, did a lot of research collaboration with Harvard. Has won multiple awards. She completed a residency and fellowship at Duke University School of Medicine. Incidentally, Duke is who UVA is playing for the ACC football championship. So I'll have to give Dr. Wu a little call. Maybe a friendly wager is in order. She won the award for the Society of Behavioral Sleep Medicine's BSM Champion Advocate Award. Just so talented. She is the founder. Today, she's the founder of Thrive, where she helps people build resilience through better sleep. Her insights have been all over the place, NPR, ABC News. She wrote a book called Hello Sleep: The Science and Art of Overcoming Insomnia, which is my go-to book when I recommend my book, The Sleep Solution, and somebody says, "I don't find your humor at all funny, or I find your tone irritating or condescending." I'm like, okay, that's okay. I have no problem with that. I think you might like Dr. Wu's book. Let's go in a different direction. If my humor is not disarming insomnia the way I thought it should, then we'll try this thing. And she's fantastic. So she's currently giving a lot of keynotes right now. She recently joined the faculty at SUNY Upstate Medical University, where she's teaching about perinatal sleep and other behavioral sleep medicine topics. And I think she just gave a TED talk right up the road in January in Jacksonville. So I need to we all need to find that on YouTube and listen to it because I'm sure it's fantastic. So I said, Dr. Wu, Jade. Oh, and here's where I met Jade. Where I used to do some work for sleep.com mattress firm, they said, "Hey, is there anybody else that you might recommend who would be good in this space?" And we were kind of looking at some people, and I said, "I think Jade Wu would be awesome." So Jade and I were sort of uh, sleep resources for the sleep.com webpage and mattress firm. And I think she still does that. I've since stepped away from that, but I think she's still active with them. And wow, what a great advocate she is for great sleep. And any business would be really, really fortunate to have her. So I said, okay, Jade, this is the seventh week that we've done this, and seventh month that we've done this. This is the seventh list. I gave her access to previous rankings, the ones that I did initially, and then what other sleep experts did, and said, look, put it together, whatever you want. You can explain them or not. And we just kind of went from there. So we'll go backwards from the one that she feels is the lowest, the 10th, to the number one. Number 10, poor public sleep education. That was new this month. It has been referenced before in the past, but not last month. So it's new to the list this month, but it's not a new entry in total. I think it was ranked number 10 by somebody in the past. And I think this is a really good one. I think, to me, when you work with any patient, any organization, any team, step number one is good education about sleep. And I really support that being on the list. And Jade is so good at educating people about sleep in a kind and positive and uplifting way. I can clearly see why she would put that on her list. Number 9, early school start times. That has been as high as number 2 in lists in the past. It was not in last month's list, so it is new to the list this month. And I think it's a very important one. When we think about early school start times, think of the number of kids that are being affected by this situation. So it makes sense to be putting on a list that if we could correct that, make school start a little bit later so we could match up school start times to kids' natural sleep patterns, I think we would be affecting and reaching many people by addressing this. I was just looking on Instagram and I've noticed a bunch of our sleep friends in Washington, D.C. advocating for permanent daylight saving time. I'm sorry, permanent standard time, abolishing daylight saving time, earlier school start times, Medicare paying for telehealth visits for all of their members and definitely making that a permanent thing. So early school start times is always something that our members tend to be advocating for. And Jade Wu agrees. Number eight, new to the list, shift work. Not new as of ever. It's actually been on four previous lists, as high as number one twice. It was ranked second on another list and fifth on another list. Shift work to me is another one that affects so many people that if we could come up with solutions or at least ways to mitigate shift work, we would be reaching so many thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And to jump back to Jack Johnson, one of my favorite Jack Johnson songs, Taylor, from the 2003 song On and On, featured the line working on the night shift. So I get to put Bubble Toes, Flake, and Taylor on the Spotify music playlist. If you want to know more about the Spotify music playlist, go to the sleepunplugged.com webpage, and there is a tab for Spotify music playlist where you can figure out where they are, download them, have them on your Spotify account. Speaking of Flake, Flake, which is an awesome song, one of the first songs I learned to play from that album on guitar, was actually not supposed to be on the album. It was just kind of a half thrown together song that he put together. People liked it, and he threw it on the album at the last minute, which is incredible because it's such a good song. If that's your throwaway song, unreal. It's like Toto and Africa was almost not on the album. And they're like, what the hell, put it on there. And there you go. Lukather, that was the guitar. A couple episodes ago, I could remember the guitarist or the drummer, Picaro. It just popped in my head. Jeff Porcaro and Steve Lukather were the guitarist and drummer for Toto that I could remember in a previous episode. So boom, there they are. See, isn't it interesting? Even when you don't think your brain is working on something, it's working on something, which is why when you're trying to think about something, you can't remember it. I love it when you wake up in the morning and it's right there when you wake up because your brain was working on it at night. Sleep is not a passive process. It is always, always active. So let's go on to number seven. This is dropping down to, this was on the list last week at number five. Jade has it ranked at number seven, which is fragmented attention, parentheses, screen addict. So last week it was number five. It's been on somebody else's list at number 10. I think this is a really good one. I mean, this is the whole reason why I was so excited that Lofty was interested in being a part of our podcast because look at my logo. There it is. It's a clock. Right? It matters. What are we doing in the bedroom when we go to bed at night? For a lot of people, the phone is there. And we've talked about having rules where the phone does not come across the threshold into your bedroom unless you're a trauma surgeon and people are calling you at night, to help them with blood shooting out of some part of their body. And I think that screen addiction is a real thing. It was interesting having all my kids home from school. We had a big discussion about research looking at how more people have memories related to things they've seen on their phone than memories of their own life. This current generation and how much interest there. I mean, even just this weekend, ran into somebody and, hey, how are your kids doing? Doing really well. One went to school to do this great thing. Another one's an engineer, but really just wants to be an influencer. Like that's a career choice now. And I'm not sitting in judgment of it. I just find that so interesting and I think it comes from watching people on this thinking, well, I could jump up and down and break chairs, or I could, do little trick shots with a ping pong ball and do it enough times before and just make sure I film it the one time out of 300 it goes in, and that'll be my living. I find just that addiction to what other people are up to and doing and mindless sorts of things. It's something that I'm actually really working on getting away from. Even my own posts, like, people are always giving me advice. Post things so people get a sense of what you're doing in your own life. Really? You really want to see me outside, like picking up dog do? Like, is that fascinating? Taking my dogs for a walk, like going to the gym and doing the same workout. I don't think people want that. I don't think people need that. I'm telling you right now, I don't think that's something that would be healthy for you. So, sleep content, sure. Educating yourself about sleep, hopefully, yes. But I find that so interesting. So I think the screen addict one is a really interesting one. That could easily be an entire episode of the podcast. Number six, mental health problems and parentheses depression. That's new. It's been on the list before. Jade has a unique sensitivity to this population of people. And her number one, and what I want to focus on a little bit more attention with this podcast, I think directly relates to mental health and depression. You can't talk about sleep disturbances and not talk about mental health, anxiety, depression, attention problems. So I think that's a really important one. Number five, this is new and has never been on the list before. So it's a new with an asterisk: chronic societal uncertainty and stress. Man, that's an interesting one as well, too. And another one that just in the last week, I feel like I've talked to several people who have said things like, I just can't really be connected at this moment in time because everything that I'm being fed is stressful to me. The awful situation of the fire in Hong Kong, the National Guards members being shot and killed, the policy about this, the comments about that. I mean, I listened to a podcast recently from the New York Times that was about a family in Kentucky. They were both ministers. They had four children, one of them clearly trans, and just the feeling that they had of being a refugee in their own company, in their own country, just trying to provide care for their child. I invite anyone who struggles with that concept to listen to that podcast. It was truly powerful. And if you're a parent, I don't know how you listen to that and you're not sort of troubled by it. Putting yourself in the position of that family, trying to make decisions that are best for you, but having so many, not only obstacles, but just hatred and bullying about that. It really, it frankly kind of tore me up. So I think Jade's concerns about, our own mental health being an obstacle to sleep is a big one. And we're in a crisis of mental health issues right now for sure. And chronic societal stress is what we were talking about. Number four, which is up 4 points, she created a separate category of stress, which was chronic personal stress. To me, this is sort of like anxiety and stress. And it's been mentioned many times on the podcast. It's been ranked fifth, sixth, second, fifth, eighth. So it's been ranked in five previous lists. So I like as this feature is coming together, we're really getting the sense like, that things like shift work and chronic stress are just things that are kind of universally thought to really be big threats to our sleep. And again, Jade has it up four. So she's separating your own stress and anxiety from just societal stress and what we feel. And I get that. I feel a societal stress in my own personal sleep clinic with my patients that I did not feel this time last year, which is very separate from personal stress, I think. I like the fact that she separated those two. Number three, this is also new to the podcast, and I'm surprised. I actually had to go back and look at all the different lists. It was lack of daylight exposure. Now, we've talked about too much light at night, but she's saying the other problem is you're not getting enough light in the morning, which also relates to save standard time. We want to protect and adopt permanent standard time because, yes, it does get dark early. It's going to get dark early anyway, but it does provide more light for individuals in the morning, particularly kids going to school, which is extremely important to not only their sleep, but their mental health. So all these things start to kind of interconnect in a really interesting way. Number two, lack of exercise. Not new to the podcast, but new this month. Another one that I think is extremely important as well, too, that people are not getting enough activity and exercise in their life. And we'll take any supplement. Like we don't like pills. I love when patients tell me, I don't like to take pills, but they're taking a million supplements. So if I prescribe it to you, it's dangerous. There's some ulterior motive. I'm making money on it, whatever. But taking a supplement that's not regulated, perfectly fine. So to me, lack of exercise. If somebody says, look, how can I sleep deeper? How can I improve my sleep? I just had a patient this week who was wearing a sleep tracker and was really upset about what the sleep tracker was saying about her sleep. And, she said, I really want to sleep better so I can maximize my chances of not following in my family's footsteps and getting dementia. What can I do? Exercise. Already do. Exercise more. Exercise is so important to quality sleep that to me, it's always one of the first things that I jump to when I'm working with any individual. Maybe not a pro athlete. I'm guessing they're exercising plenty, but anybody else, exercise has to be on the list before we can really move forward. So now we come to the number one for Jade Wu, which is drum roll, FOMO slash urgency culture. Never been on the list before. And so it's new to the top 10 sleep threat health, and it's the number one. And it's interesting because Jade sent a little explanation and said, I want to explain my top choice of FOMO and urgency culture. It's a bit of a reach to make that number one, but I just want to highlight it because I think people only think of negative emotions or bad things causing stress as problematic for sleep. But even things like excitement or just the possibility of missing out on something fun can jack up hyperarousal and trick our bodies into thinking there are saber-toothed tigers on the horizon. That is her quotation. I love this. I love this for a bunch of reasons. Number one, I can identify with this. Doesn't have to be bad stuff. I mean, kid on Christmas Eve. That's not bad. You're just excited about, hey, what did Santa bring? There's lots of things. When my kids were coming home, it's like tomorrow Cam arrives, my youngest arrives. I'm so excited about this. And then the next day, the next one, and the next one arrives. Like those are exciting things that can absolutely affect sleep. And I think that can be problematic when we only focus on the negatives. There are positives. You're getting married tomorrow. You've got this big fun party you've been planning. You're going to a sporting event. You're going to go see a bowl game of your favorite. Oh my gosh, your team could win the ACC championship and go to the football playoff. This is so exciting. Or Navy could have a great season, but they've got to beat Army, got to win the Army-Navy game. Like exciting things can cause problems as well too. And I want to focus on something. So I fully believe this. I think it's a perfectly appropriate number one. But I want to focus on something she said. Jade said it's a bit of a reach to make that number one. So that got me thinking, well, let's utilize a few minutes of the podcast and do a little search on FOMO. And that's why I wanted to make the title of the podcast, Sleeping Eyes You're Missing. You're sleepy because you're missing out. Jack Johnson doesn't say you're missing out, but maybe we'll call the podcast Sleeping Eyes You're Missing parentheses out. I'm going to go ahead and change that right now. We're going to make that. We're going to audible the title of the podcast, Sleeping Eyes You're Missing Out. So what does research say? There's actually a surprising amount of research. So this is why it's fun to pull in experts like Jade, because I'm going to tell you something. There's a selfish motivation for me to do this podcast. I want to learn. I want to learn from my colleagues. And what a better way to do it than have Jade Wu give us her top 10 threats to sleep, FOMO being number one. So there was a title of an article from 2025, Insomnia as a Behavioral Pathway from fear of missing out. There was a recent article that said insomnia may be one mechanism linking FOMO to depression in emerging adults. The authors argue that FOMO can disrupt sleep, making insomnia a plausible mediator between FOMO and worse mental health. 2025 by Aslan, Aslan et al., fear of missing out and sleep disturbance as sequential mediators in the relationship between excessive screen time and life satisfaction. We're getting into it, aren't we? All these things kind of link together and they all come up as a big negative. Study used a large sample of young adults to find that FOMO and sleep disturbance act as sequential mediators between high screen time and lower life satisfaction. In other words, more screen time, higher fear of missing out, more sleep disturbances, lower well being. This provides some empirical support for this causal chain that we're trying to put together here. 2020 study by Lee L.I. Griffiths and Griffiths et al. Fear of missing out and smartphone addiction mediates the relationship between positive and negative effect and sleep quality among Chinese university students. Yet another one showing that FOMO and anxiety was associated with poor sleep quality. And linked to smartphone addiction as well too. Flores in 2023, FOMO predicts bedtime procrastination and poor sleep in young adults. Again, phone out of the bedroom. Oh wait, but I need a clock. I need an alarm. I can't. No, you get a lofty. It's no big deal. I love when kids try to argue. Oh, I would keep my phone out of my bedroom, but I need the alarm. Oh, sweetheart, we've got alarms. We had alarms before smartphones. Let me introduce you to this clock right here. It's not going to be bright. It's going to wake you up gently. Has no Bluetooth speaker, and it allows you to separate from your phone, which I think is really important. Here's your New Year's resolution, listeners of the podcast. Let's get the phone out of the bedroom. Let's really start working on some of this stuff. Like, there's nothing wrong with being on your phone, waiting for your flight. Let's try to mediate some of that, mitigate some of that with getting the phone out of the bedroom. Another one by Oliveria, fear of missing out syndrome and its impact on sleep. Evidence from medical students. This was 2024, showing that Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Index was poor with individuals using smartphone use, higher uses rates of anxiety, depression, reinforcing that FOMO isn't just theoretical. It shows up as an objective measure in sleep and mental health. Zhang from 2024, the mediating effect of rumination and fear of missing out on sleep quality. I mean, there's a whole body of research out there that would argue strongly that Jade's number one pick is a really good one. And it's something that people are studying, that we're learning more and more about, and we have to be aware of it. You know, where are you thinking at certain times of the day? You know, is that fear of missing out influencing how you're present in your own life? So I think it's really important that we have to understand that fear of missing out is probably driving behaviors like smartphone use, like social media consumption, and taking steps to lessen it, to understand using the thing on your phone. How much time did you spend on your phone today? What did that phone tell you? And are there ways you can limit that, both in yourself and maybe your families, to improve sleep and lower anxiety, which would touch upon so many things that not only Jade ranked in this week's sleep podcast, but other people have ranked as well too. So that's it. I just wanted to touch on Jade's top 10. A little bit of extra attention to FOMO. Do some research yourself. Look up fear of missing out and sleep. Do the deep dive. I think it's really impactful and important for us to understand how it affects our sleep, how it affects our mood. What can you do in 2026 to reduce your fear of missing out? And are you really missing out on what you're finding on social media? Is that something are these things you really want to be a part of? Because my social media is showing me bicycle accidents. I'm not missing out on that. I'm happy not having bicycle accidents. Pets doing funny things, I guess, is on my social media. I've got 2 dogs and they're constantly doing funny things. So maybe I should put more time into watching their funny things rather than other pets' funny things. real estate that I'm never going to purchase, but wow, what a pretty layout and design of their master bedroom. And what a view they have of the Hudson Valley. Maybe I need to spend less time looking at that. I don't know. So just food for thought. Thank you very much, Jade Wu, and thank you very much, Lofty, for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. We will be back next week with our insomnia episode, first episode of the month. We always talk about insomnia and let's see here. We will be doing our year-end sleep awards, final episode of the year. We'll have one more top 10 threats to your sleep at the end of December, not the last episode. That'll be our sleep awards, but the one before that. And Lofty will be back sponsoring that one as well too. Take a listen to last week's podcast about Black Friday deals. Get your discount codes, get your shopping done. And until next week, sleep well.